I move we return to open session.
Second.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Janer.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
I move we adjourn to closed session.
Second.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Janer.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters. Moore.
Aye.
Call the roll for the meeting, please.
Shaner.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
Waters.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
O'Kane.
Here.
Please stand for a moment of silent prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Rachel Ostermeyer and Katie Logan, please.
Rachel Ostermeyer. She's the baby.
We have a proclamation that reads, whereas the Head Start and Early Head Start programs of the Community Action Agency of Siouxland and other local organizations in conjunction with the National Association for Education of Young Children are celebrating the Week of the Young Child, April 1st through the 7th, 2023. Whereas by recognizing that nearly 22% of the children birth to 5 in our community live in low-income families, and whereas by highlighting the need for high-quality early childhood services can help improve the effects of poverty and detect and remediate delays, identify and help prevent child neglect, and lead to positive outcomes for individual children, helping them to be better prepared for school and more likely to succeed in life. Whereas we must recognize the essential work for early childhood educators is vital to our growing community, support efforts to see that they are properly compensated, and understand they have sacrificed and struggled to serve children and families since the start of COVID-19 pandemic. Now therefore, I, Robert E. Scott, Mayor of the City of Sioux City, Iowa, on behalf of City Council, do hereby proclaim April 1st through the 7th as the Week of the Young Child in Sioux City, encourage all citizens to work to make an investment in early
land and its Head Start and Early Head Start programs, serving over 600 children from low-income families each year. I'd like to thank the City Council for recognizing the important role that early childhood education plays within our local community. It is certainly a vital piece to the overall school readiness and potential lifelong contributions by our youngest and most vulnerable citizens. So once again, we thank you and we'll enjoy celebrating this week within our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have an interview for Inclusive Sioux City. Sarah Bernson, come on up and tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to serve.
Hi there, my name is Sarah Bernson. I'm a 4th grade teacher at Bryant Elementary School, and I would like to serve on the Inclusive Sioux City Advisory Committee to offer my perspectives, experiences, and ideas as a member of the LGBTQ+ community in order to make our city a more safe space for everyone.
Questions?
Sarah, I appreciate the application. The Inclusive committee actually came up with a couple questions just that they like asking all candidates by you. You somewhat spoke to it, but can you speak directly to your experience in serving the community?
Yeah, I have. Most of my experience comes from being elementary school here, elementary school teacher here for 6 years. I taught a few years in a different city. I also serve on the equity committee in on our school district. And so I have a lot of experience drawing in the community to help support the schools as well. So that's a little bit about my experience.
Great. Last one. What growth have you seen regarding inclusion and equity in Sioux City, and where do you still think we need some improvement? So I guess it's a two-part question, sorry.
I feel like there's been a lot of growth within my place of employment. I always offer ideas and suggestions, and little by little I'm seeing changes being made that make our building more inclusive. Things that normally just others don't think about or realize until it's brought up by someone else. And so I think we have room to grow on a larger scale. and that's why I would like to serve on a city committee to make more change. And I believe that we can make more changes in our city by helping others realize there's resources out there for them. I feel like a lot of times people don't access resources because they're not aware that they're there.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll go to the consent agenda, which is items 3 through 11C that consider to be passed unanimously unless a separate roll call vote's asked for by a council member. If you want to speak on an agenda item, please come up as I read it. State your name and address for the record. If you want to speak on an item not on the agenda, please come up under citizen concerns. I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
3 are the reading of the city council minutes of March 20th, 2023. 4 is a resolution approving a collective bargaining agreement and salary schedule with the Sioux City Professional Firefighters Association. 5 is a resolution authorizing fire rescue to apply for a fire prevention and safety grant to purchase alarms for the Safe Home and Smoke Alarm Checks program.
Mayor,
Yes.
I just want to point out this is an extremely important program that Sioux City Fire Rescue has. It's been very successful, and to have a safe home and smoke alarm check programs is very critical to the safety of our citizens. So I'm really pleased to see that this application's being made, and I hope they keep up the good work of supplying smoke alarms to our citizens. Thanks.
6 are actions adopting construction documents. A is a resolution adopting plans and specs for the Rivers Landing Parking Facility Elevator Upgrade Project. Who's here to speak on that? I just want to make sure, we had one of these and we didn't see everything. I don't want another $100,000 surprise. You knew that question was coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Tiffany Claiborne, the Parking Division Supervisor. And I'm going to let Terry Glade talk on that, but we have included that into the amounts.
Yeah, Terry Glade, CMBA Architects, yeah, everything that we included in Phase 1, including the change order, has been included in this.
So we're not going to look at a big surprise here.
No big surprise.
Hope not.
We're going to hold
That we know of.
That's a
We're going to hold you
surprise.
to that.
That's a surprise of it, yeah.
All right.
Thank you both.
D is a resolution adopting plans and specs for the Glen Oaks Boulevard paving patch project.
I have a couple concerns about that one. Gordon, do we have a tentative start date for this project?
Gordon Fair, city engineer. Yes, not a tentative one, but a window.
Okay. My main concern is that is a huge feeder path into North Middle and North High. And Outer Drive is already incredibly congested. So taking a big spoke, a big feeder street out of that is kind of worrisome for me. Is there any way that they can prioritize that side of the project first so that can be open? I know that we're offering a monetary bump if they're able to finish mid-November, but that's
Right.
still well into the school year, and so I'm worried that that's going to cut off a big portion of street that we're able to use for it to
That is
some of that.
We're hoping to get it all done this year. Sorry, not next year. But if not, we've left it open so that they can split it up between the 2 construction seasons, this season and next, because it's going to be. We're trying to appeal to the contractor so that they can come and hit these small repairs, leave, come back to that site, and back and forth, because it's just a bunch of little repairs. And we don't see, there's only like 2 detours, 2 or 3. So a lot of times the traffic will still be open and maybe just like flagged or one way or alternating.
Gotcha. So you don't perceive it hindering too much traffic?
We're hopefully, no, we're not hoping it doesn't. Pushing for the summer.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
D is a resolution for adopting plans and specs for the airport blast pad and parking lot seal coat project. D is a resolution adopting plans and specs for the airport northeast T hangar development project. 7 are actions relating to agreements and contracts. A is a resolution approving a consulting services agreement with Burns McDonnell engineering for the annual traffic study. B is a resolution approving a contract to KP Construction for the Whispering Creek Drive and Castle Gates Drive intersection repaving project. Is this the last one? Because this is like 3 years of this.
Is this the last one in that area, you mean?
Yeah, so we can get to the golf course without having to drive around barricades or go 3 miles out? Is this the last one?
For a while, yes. For a while. till
Is
we
this
save
going to
up some more
require
money.
that you close that area again like you've done in the past?
Or, yeah, we're gonna have to close it down. And
So
route the
people are
traffic
going to,
around.
getting into Whispering Creek are going to have to go all the way around and come back in?
Yes.
Again, I don't know why we didn't do this all in 1 year when we did it, because this is what you're going to run into. It's
We
unbelievable.
are coordinating this with the golf course. They've asked us to delay it until after June 15th, and that's gonna be the early start date.
B is a resolution awarding a service provider agreement to Richard Hansen to provide maintenance and garbage control.
I have a question on that one too.
Is this brand new? I mean, it's like brand new deal. Where,
I think Tom has been managing this.
So my big questions, or I guess my concern about that is I understand that this is monitored by the EAC, right? I guess I don't understand how we monitor this, how we track their productivity. So our own vehicles, we track idle time, we track mileage, we track, how long the vehicle's in motion for. We have GPS data. Even like the trash company, we track pounds of garbage. I don't understand how we get a picture of what is being done.
Tom Pingle, Utilities Director. This is pretty much an on-call deal, so we get a lot of phone calls for maybe a sofa in the right-of-way or something like that. So he's directed by city.
Gotcha.
So he's not.
But we're billing hourly.
Correct.
So we see a sofa and we're like, that should take them 10 minutes. And then we just have it on faith that it should take 10 minutes to sling it into the truck and for them to drive away, or?
Pretty much, but there's so much going on that.
there's a minimum too.
Yeah,
I'm sure
he
there's
stays
a
pretty
minimum.
busy, I'll tell you that much.
You have drive time of going there.
Do we gather any data about like the pounds of trash that are removed or how many calls there are or that?
We don't, but that's a good idea, and I think if you want us to, we can start doing that.
I think it'd be, I would be for it just simply because we have a lot of boxes that our drivers and city cars have to tick. So I think that would be fair.
Have we done this before?
Yeah, this is the third year. It's just gotten to a point now where you guys need to approve it. It's, at.
No, I don't remember it either, so this is kind of weird, but what the heck, I'm kind of new on the job, I guess.
Yeah.
I can, Spiro Vlaholis as purchasing manager. This started about 3 years ago, I believe. They had somebody that was just doing it at the right-of-ways. And then when they added the downtown trash receptacles for the recycling and the garbage, then they added those. And then also, I think within the last year, we added the glass recyclables that are in the parking lot. So he just started cleaning the area up around there too.
But Gil has been picking up in the downtown, have they not?
I think initially Parks and Rec was doing it, and then like those steel containers you see like in front of City Hall and different buildings around downtown, Parks and Rec was doing those, and they started having a contractor do them too.
We've just added to this person's workload, basically. Because I know I've called, when citizens have called me and said, hey, somebody dumped a sofa. Actually, that was the last one that I called about.
Yep.
Said, hey, somebody called me and said there's a sofa in their alley. Do we pick those up? And said, yeah, we can get it picked up.
I mean, this is nonstop, ongoing, all day long.
I can imagine that.
Yeah. It's kind of a fight between us and inspections, who should really be doing this, but we just took it and we're doing it.
Tom, my only question about it was, I was trying to go through some of the addresses and like areas the map was a little hard to read. I'm sure they know their sites and everything like that. But my question was, so like, for instance, the ones around the, say, convention center, or the ones that are over by Mardo and the movie theater and stuff like that, that's more on their property, and the ones that these people would manage or help empty are more like the metal ones that are out in front of the museum. Is that accurate, or?
Correct, and bus stops, all those as well. It's anything in the right of way that we can't pin it to somebody.
Yeah, if it's not on their property or something. That the second question I had was, who are, I'm assuming, but I just want to ask for clarity. We pay for the installation or the upkeep of those trash receptacles, right?
I believe so. Yep.
I just want to make sure. I think we do. I mean,
I think we
sure
do,
that
too.
these people are just, disposing of the trash that's in. The one thing that I've noticed is I thought there were on the black round trash cans, I thought at one point in time there was like a rain guard over it, where it was the rain guard and you'd put stuff in. Lately I've been seeing more and more where those seem to be gone, and so then you just have literally like the outer edge still looks decorative, which I appreciate, but then you look in and you just have this huge trash can, and I've been always thinking that it's like, well, I hope it's vented on the bottom so you don't just get a whole bunch of rainwater and other stuff. And I just think that we need to kind of stay on top of those because they can be pretty unsightly. And so if I need to let staff know about improving, or if they are awarded the contract, if they could let staff know, hey, this one, we need a new one. I mean, when we did the recycling downtown, we were doing, from my memory, I guess, we were doing a trial in those different areas, and I know that contamination can be a problem, but I think really in my memory of this was that our hope and what I encouraged was that literally anywhere you see a trash can, you should also have a recycling. And that's how I would feel on our trail system. That's how I would feel at rest stops. That's how I'd feel at City Hall or any city facility. I don't understand how we, all right, let me rephrase. I'm gonna continue to encourage our community to recycle as best we can and give them every opportunity to do that. 'Cause I think, I don't know, probably 7 times out of 10 would be my guess, is what they're throwing away could be a water bottle or something like that that easily could be recycled if they had that opportunity. So that's all.
You anticipate that the 138 collection sites then will increase?
Sorry, I didn't hear
The
you.
138 collection sites that are under this contract, will that increase eventually?
Yeah, that number seems to be increasing probably on the weekly.
You have a list of all the addresses then, or the locations other than just the map? You do? Okay.
Just add 2, Transit just added, I believe, 4 bus stops. They potentially could be adding more in the future depending on how that program goes.
Thank you.
And does the trail system fall under this? Like when we put stuff on the riverfront or along the trail, is that this, or is that separate contract with Gill? And I'm not trying to get into the weeds with this. You can tell me later.
I believe the trails fall under Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec.
Okay.
I think Parks and Rec might even manage the trash cans, because when I asked for a couple of them over on Wesley Parkway, I dealt with Matt.
Yeah.
So I think they manage the trash cans, the trash containers like downtown on the right-of-way. And those things you're talking about, you're right. There's, looks like a donut,
Yep.
metal thing, and it's got a cable on it. So when they take that out and pull the insert out and dump it, I think sometimes that cable might break, or somebody from the night before may have messed around with it or something. So that might be a part that we can just order. But I think that's Matt.
There will be a city facility contract coming in front of council probably within the next 2 weeks
That's what I thought.
I believe will include a lot of the Parks and Rec.
Okay, yep.
That's what I recall.
Yep. Yeah, so I think that is Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you all.
Items 8A to D are resolutions scheduling hearings on the proposed amended and restated plans for Teton, combined Central Sioux City CBD, Donner Park, and combined Floyd River Urban Renewal Project areas. 9 are purchasing. A, the resolution canceling the purchase order issued to utility equipment company for solid sleeves for the utilities field office. B is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Dakota Supply for solid sleeves. C is a resolution approving a renewal option 1 to the purchase order awarded to Knife River Midwest for hot mix asphalt. D is a resolution approving renewal option number 1 to the purchase order awarded to Barclay Asphalt for hot mix asphalt. 10 are applications for beer and liquor license. 11 are beer or board commissions and committee minutes. Anyone to be heard on any of those items? Passes 5-0. Recommendations of Planning and Zoning. 12 is a resolution approving the final plat of Niemeyer Addition at 1130 Barker Avenue. The petitioners Edwin O. Niemeyer, Revocable Trust. P&Z recommends approval of the final plat through the execution of an extraterritorial development agreement. Mr. Nelson, I'll move that.
I'll second, but I wanted to ask you, Mayor, if I'd like to make sure we include the recommended conditions of approval where they're adding language.
I think it's in your recommendation, is it not, Mr. Gleiser? Yes, it's in there.
But in the resolution, it's not. It isn't real clear in the resolution.
But if you're accepting the
I just want to make sure it gets included.
If it's from the recommendation of the P&Z, your RCA follows that recommendation, does it?
It does.
It does, doesn't it?
It does.
So we're accepting that recommendation that Stephen put in place, as I understand it.
That's the staff recommendation.
It's just something that could easily get lost moving forward. So I just want to make sure it wasn't in the resolution itself, Stephen. But if you don't think we don't have to add that, you don't think? To the motion, just to make it clear, because we don't have that in all of our extraterritorial development agreements.
Stephen Pastolka, City Legal. I guess I'm not totally sure what was being referred to, but
you made a recommendation to not whatever have them hook up now, but if they'd ever got close to annexing, then they would have to.
yeah, I remember my recommendation. I don't remember what the RCA says. I guess I don't have that in front of me.
What incorporated that as a recommendation?
I'm just saying that's what P&Z moved.
Right.
So P&Z moved that, and we're accepting the recommendation of P&Z. We're accepting what was moved by P&Z.
Correct.
Okay, that's what. But Dan wants to know, how do you keep score on that to make sure it happens?
Well, I mean, the ball's in the city's court on that one, and that's the nice part about that is we made sure to recommend that it be in the city's sole and unreviewable discretion that we do that. So it's just a matter of development might go out in that area in 50 years, it might go out in 5 years, and it's just kind of on us to know, once things and specifically utilities start moving that direction, it's just on us to notify the property owners in the way that we normally do those kind of things.
Is there a way to note it on their abstract?
Mr. Mayor, the way we do this is the agreement is recorded, and there's a certificate that's on the plat that cross-references that. So it will be on the plat.
Okay.
I know you got to be charging your client. You just will get up and tell us what you want. I don't want you to get here for free today, John.
My name's John Daniels, 604th Street, number 302. I'm an attorney for Mosier Landscaping, buyer of the 1 acre, or the 1 lot subdivision plat that you're considering. You saw in your homework that we were proposing that the requirement for annexation be waived given the location of this property and its distance from current city utilities. At the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing, Mr. Pastolka put forth a reasonable compromise to add language to that annexation agreement that says when the city determines that there are sewer and water services available, only then would they annex the property. My concern is that, and I see the homework from the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and the recommendations there are cited, that recommendations for approval include adding that particular language. I just wanted to make sure when you act today that you adopt the resolution that's before you, because the resolution in the homework doesn't refer to those, that inserted language. If you could just humor us and say, we're going to adopt that resolution subject to the conditions for approval put forth by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, well, I think that's what my motion did. So I think you're on solid ground. Right? Okay. Thank you. Passes 5-0. 13 is an ordinance dedicating and naming a portion of an unnamed right-of-way between 225th Street and the north and the drop and pull yard to the south is Andrew Avenue. P&Z recommends approval. I'll move first reading.
Second.
Anyone to be heard? Passes 5-0. Anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule?
No.
I'll move it.
Second.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Move second and third.
Second.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye. Hearings, 14 is a hearing and resolution approving the amendment number 1 to the annual action plan for the Sioux City Consortium in conjunction with the Home American Rescue Plan program. I'll move it.
Second.
Public hearing is now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. 15 is a hearing and resolution approving plans and specs for the Lorraine Avenue Sewer Point Repair Project. I'll move that.
Second.
Hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. Residential, commercial, and industrial sewer rate increase. Presentation.
Tom Pingle, Utilities. Hazen's here to present the facility plan, which you guys already seen a lot about, and then the rate analysis. The rate analysis that you're about to see in the presentation is based around a 50-50 split, residents and industry. Also, you guys already know this, but I just want to make this known to the public. This project is not an option. This is, we have to go forward with the facility plan improvements to the wastewater treatment plant in order to maintain a viable wastewater treatment for the city and our industries. We're at a crucial point here, and we don't have a whole lot of time to negotiate around how the rates will look. Staff and myself, mainly myself, I don't really care about how the rates are split. I just want the decision to be made so we can move forward and do it right. So with that, this is Hazen. Will and Tim will be presenting the findings. So. And afterwards, obviously, we're open to any questions and go from there. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Good afternoon. Good to be with you guys again. My name is Will Martin. I'm the project manager from Hazen and Sawyer that I've been working on the facility plan with the city for the wastewater plant. Tim Devine is also here. He's been leading the financial and rate analysis portion of the facility plan. I'll start out the presentation today with just a quick recap of the wastewater plant facility plan itself, what the goals are, what the findings have been, and what the recommendation is proceeding forward. Tim is going to give you guys an overview of what we've seen on the rate side and the recommendations on how to proceed forward from here. The facility plan itself, we've been working with the city for right about a year now to come up with the facility plan. I would say that, the process that we've been going through with the city is to understand how to prioritize work that needs to be done at the facility to meet the city's objectives, needs, and goals for wastewater treatment for the region. And I would say, what's been clear to us as we have looked at the facility, looked at the city's needs, talked to the staff, understand what the goals are, is really there's a few things that the improvements that come out of this facility plan are intended to address. So probably most critically is safe operation for the city staff to work in, day out. Also improving the degree of odor control that's provided at the facility to minimize the impact on the surrounding community. Those are really the first and foremost goals of the facility plan. Operational reliability is kind of that next set of goals in terms of priority. There's a real need for the plant just to operate more reliably, meet its permit more consistently than it has in the past. And then third and final piece is growth to support the region's economic, the more capacity facility to eliminate as a restriction on regional growth. More context on those, one thing we saw as we looked at this facility, as most of the council members know, the majority of the plant was built in the 1960s and 1970s. It's undergone a handful of upgrades in that time since, but a number of the structures are in the 60, 50-year range in terms of age. Well, some of that can be rehabbed and salvaged. Some of that is just past its useful service life and due for replacement. You can see in the pictures here, these are taken over the past 6 months or so, some of them more recently than that. But there are significant safety issues at the plant that need to be addressed for the city staff, as well as just condition improvement to provide more reliable performance. And then the other piece that's a real driver here is the regulatory scrutiny. So the wastewater plant has a history of compliance issues with the state. It's seen a lot of increased regulatory scrutiny from state and federal regulators. And so it is mandatory for the city to address those issues and provide more consistent compliance with state and federal regulations. We, in conjunction with the city, looked at a lot of different options for what the city could do with its wastewater infrastructure. We looked at options to move everything and construct new at a greenfield site further south in town. We looked at a comprehensive plan to reinvest and provide another generation of operation at the facility, and then hybrid options of somewhere in between those two. And what we found is that doing things the right way and investing in the existing site, rebuilding it to an as-new condition, that was a very economical option for the city. It was almost $300 million cheaper or less expensive than an option to build a greenfield site. We did see a lot of opportunity to continue to use structures, major elements of the existing site that could really allow the city to save significant capital dollars with that option. And we did also see that, with enhanced odor control, it could be a better neighbor to its surrounding community. So what we have shown here is the phased investment plan for renewal and reconstruction of the wastewater plant at the existing site. It's a comprehensive plan that's a combination of construction of new structures for some of those 60-year-old facilities that cannot be salvaged, along with comprehensive reinvestment in the existing facilities that are going to continue to be used. One additional advantage of the existing site compared to other options, we are proposing phasing these improvements in over time. That really has a benefit to the city's ratepayers. They're not required to stomach and fund all that money in one shot. So we have a longer time to minimize that impact and spread it out over a longer time frame. We did present these previously. We were looking at really two initial phases of work that are mandatory for the city. Those are phases 1 and 2. Phase 1 here is a $300 million project. It's primarily geared towards reconstruction of the facility. So the major elements that are required for safety, for reliability, for odor, those are addressed in phase 1. Phase 2 addresses a few pieces that are not kind of fitting with the others, and then also providing additional capacity. Those are what we're going to talk about in terms of rate impacts. We're proposing a strategy to fund those There's a third piece that we included that has longer-term growth projections. So when we looked at all the potential growth needs for the city, we're setting aside some piece of that would be funded in a future phase. A benefit of that is that when that additional growth occurs, there'll be another look at the rates. There will be options to get those new users to help fund the projects. So all that's to say, again, the numbers that we're presenting are really based around phases 1 and 2. Those are intended to be implemented as a group. They can't really be separated from each other. So just one happens before the other, but they both are going to occur. So with that as background, I'll turn it over to Tim to talk through the specifics on rates.
Great. Thanks, Will. Tim Devine, Hazen and Sawyer. So I'm here to talk about the numbers that came out of our financial analysis study that we did as a result of the facility plan. So just to start off, I wanted to show the current picture without any improvement. So this is a look at other utilities across the state and what a residential customer would pay based off of current fiscal year 23 rates. So based off of a low water user, so this is really who the impacts could be the most to, the most sensitive to adjustments to rates. So this is based off of 400 cubic feet of monthly use. The current customer in Sioux City pays $23.60 for sewer service for that volume of water through their meter. Yeah, so you can see the other communities within the state and where the city currently sits somewhere near the middle of those other communities. Another common benchmark is for a higher user, maybe a larger household. So that's 1 MCF or 100 cubic feet. So a little bit larger user, so the monthly use, again, in the middle of the state benchmarks with about just over $50 per month of fee for sewer service at that usage level. Next piece is the benchmarking on the industrial side. So we have industries across the state as well as some other geographically close areas and municipalities, and what they would pay for a hypothetical industrial user that had a monthly discharge of 1 million gallons per day on average, and then also a concentration of 500 milligrams per liter of BOD and 500 milligrams per liter of TSS. So that hypothetical industry would pay $125,000.
I appreciate what a hypothetical industry is, but what industry in Sioux City would meet that?
So this is a little bit less than what the largest industry pays right now. So
this is what Seaboard Triumph pays today.
They pay a little bit more than that today. They have a little bit more volume and load than this.
Well, I don't like hypothetical. I want to know. I want to see what these rates are going to do. But go ahead with your presentation. I don't understand why we need to know how this is going to affect individual industries. Is my point. But go ahead.
Sure. So talking about flow and load. So currently, on the flow side of the plant, of the facility, about 60% of volume that comes into the plant is from non-industrial users, and about 40% of the flow comes from industrial users. When you look at in terms of load, so what actually needs to be treated through the facility, it's flipped in even greater percentage. So BOD is about 2/3 from industry, and TSS is 3/4 of the load comes from industry. And then when you look at current revenue contributions, it's about 60% of current revenues come from the non-industrial side, and 40% of revenues come from the industrial side. So that percentage did not seem aligned with the load contributions from industry. So moving forward for projected rate increases, we looked at sharing the cost allocation of investments in future infrastructure, shared 50-50 between the non-industrial and industrial. So moving forward, a 50-50 split between those customer types.
But why would that necessarily be a fair equation? I know why you did it, but you need BOD, but what you're saying is we're going to penalize you for sending us BOD because your flow is, anyway, I guess I don't know why you would do it exactly that way, but somehow you have to give them credit for the BOD because you need the BOD to do what you need to do. But you're not, that doesn't register the way you're doing it. So I know we want to try to keep it, the rate down for individual homeowners, but you know what? If we don't have industry in this community, we don't have to worry about houses selling anymore either. So you've got to be.
Can you talk about those BODs and?
Just to get technical for a second, there's different types of BOD.
I get that.
Yeah. But the BOD and the TSS and what's not listed, which is the hardest constituent to treat, is TKN. We get, I bet 90% of our TKN is from industry. That's what drives our energy bills. That's what
I was going to say.
The BOD is why, and the TSS is exactly why we have to haul out sludge. It's the expensive part of the operation.
That's what I was going to point out is the flow isn't necessarily the expensive portion of what you have to upgrade or why you have to treat and why you have more. The more expensive part of it is the industry side or the load of treating it, or especially the
If you're going to make gas, you need BOD. And contrary to what he's standing there telling us now, all we ever heard from people is we need BOD to make gas. That's why we're worried about not having those South Sioux industries, is because we're going to see our BOD go. Now, all of a sudden, BOD isn't as important, so they've lost me in this discussion, but I realize I'm technologically challenged when it comes to this type of stuff.
I don't think you are, Mr. Mayor. I think what past people and past maybe management has stated might not be quite aligned to what's the reality out there.
Well, every time somebody new stands there, I'm not being critical, every time a new engineer stands there, we get a new set of facts and circumstances.
I'd be in your same shoes.
And I barely got out of high school chemistry, so you got the wrong guy, okay? The reason I'm not a veterinarian is I found out you had to take those courses at Iowa State. So you're losing me because I don't understand it, but I pay attention to what you say.
So are there different levels of the BOD?
Yep, we're looking to make gas, pretty much we need BOD that's settling in the very first phase of the treatment, and then that settled solids goes into these giant tanks that make gas. That's beneficial in a way, but it costs money.
We're making it beneficial.
Yeah, yep. But I don't no opinions on this topic. I just wanted you guys to be informed.
So can I add a couple points?
Yes.
So I'd say, Mr. Mayor, to your point, one of the structures that's most critical to get upgraded is the primary clarifiers. To Tom's point, that's what captures the material that's most beneficial for biogas production. That's probably the highest priority for the planned improvements. But we've
talked about those for now, ever since I've been back for 12 years. We spent $140 million at least pretty much in that time frame, and we didn't get the most important thing done. It's just, again, you guys stand there with these grandiose plans, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but the last guy stood there, and so how does a uneducated guy in sewer plants know what the right decision to make is here today? That's where I struggle, because I've heard this about those. They rebuilt those clarifiers back when I was here in the 90s, right?
Those clarifiers?
They were on the table to build. Let's put it that way.
Oh, maybe, yes, maybe. Let's just say biogas is the least of our worries right now. And we need to start making some steps to get this plant back into compliance.
That's what I was going to say, is it's one of those things where I do understand the benefit of the BOD. We've had these conversations, we've talked about it, and obviously I think, gas not only for the environmental impact and being able to repurpose and reuse that and make a little money on the side, I think, and I agree with you, that the money that we are making was inflated by people and previously in that position, but I do understand also that it's such a larger picture that, especially the TKN was my understanding, but maybe it's all three of them, is what the most expensive portion is. And I completely agree with your last point. I think we sometimes get into the weeds of these different types of things, but I understand it helps us make the decision of maybe who should pay for it or who should be a big contributor.
Believe me, I was in your guys' shoes when we were consulting with them, asking them what's the best thing to do for the biogas plant. How are we going to make more gas? We need BOD here, and then after a lot of consulting, it is truly the least of our worries right now. The BOD, the flow, everything, and the plant is crumbling. We're at a point where
We're at risk
wastewater,
to shut down.
yeah, we're at the 11th hour.
So when I think about the function of the wastewater plant, its purpose is to put clean water into the river, right, primarily. Its a secondary function is biogas production, and our focus is on that first part, to stabilize and make reliable the part that takes the city's wastewater and makes it clean for discharge to the river.
So taking all those needs into account, what the financial analysis that we looked at and came up with a 7-year rate adjustment plan that would ensure that the city would be able to maintain enough revenue to make those investments into the infrastructure according to the facility plan. So what this looks at is a 7-year plan, and starting off with the non-industrial side, a proposed 20% increase for fiscal year 24, a proposed 25% for fiscal 25, and then a sustained 3% increase over the course of the next 7 years. And on the industrial side, a 30% increase in fiscal 24, 20% increases in fiscal 25 and 26, followed by sustained 5% increases for fiscal 27 through 30. And again, the reason why those bars aren't the same size for industrial and non-industrial going forward, even though it is a 50-50% split going forward for charges, is that the starting point is 60%. Right now, revenues are 60% non-industrial and 40% industrial. So to get to the 50-50 shared allocation going forward, that's why there's different higher percentages on the industrial for those, especially in the first 3 years.
2025, it's for residential and commercial, it's 10%, correct?
That's correct.
You're showing there, okay.
So looking at numbers, what actually the proposed update to the ordinance would be. So this shows the by meter size monthly minimum charges for fiscal 23, and then the proposed fiscal 24 increase with that 20% for the non-industrial applied, as well as the consumption per 100 cubic feet, which is, again, the fiscal 23 current ordinance, and the draft fiscal 24 is listed there as well. If you look out over the course of the entire 7-year period, these are all the numbers as it would play out according to that 7-year plan that was shown. And this is just the user charges for the 7-year plan. So the previous table was the minimum charge. This is that consumption charge. Want to again look at that impact on that small user, the one that might be most impacted financially by an increase to a rate adjustment. So for at the 400 cubic feet level, and yeah, I'm not sure if you lost your slides right there in the packet, but it's about $6 per month going from fiscal 23 to fiscal 24. There it is.
I don't know why that happened.
And so going from about the 2360 again, for that 400 cubic feet to 2959. This looks like an updated of that current picture that we showed originally. So in that current picture, that's where the yellow bar was. That's what the current low water user is at. With this applied, and then looking at all those benchmark other communities where you would land for fiscal 24. One thing to note here is there's no adjustment applied to every other utilities number here. And over the last 10 years, about the average increase across the country for sewer service has been about 5% annually. So you would expect all those numbers to be about 5% higher as well. Same picture with 1 MCF of use, again, follows the same trend as the low water user. And then moving on into the industrial, what that looks like in the ordinance. So again, this is what the fiscal 24 numbers would be with that first year of 30% increases. So there is no changes to the rate structure itself. So the TSS tiers still have the same concentration trigger of when those charges would be applied. And the same tiers exist, as well as the same having a volumetric charge component. So this shows both inside and outside with the fiscal 24 rate increase applied. And then this shows the larger look at the 7-year plan, so all the specific numbers there. So this is an updated benchmarking on the industrial. So we took it at fiscal 26 at the end of that 3-year of higher increase, the proposal. So you could see on the yellow bar there, that is current with a 3-year 5% increase added. So this would be fiscal 26 if just 5% was added for 3 years. So still on the low end of the spectrum. And since this goes out all the way to fiscal 26, we did add a 5% increase to all of the other benchmark utilities as well. And then in the green bar, you can see where under this, the first 3 years, after the first 3 years of this program, of the 7 years, where the city would land. Some more specifics with the ordinance. We looked at the industrial permit fee, so another fee component within the ordinance. What this fee is specifically designed to do is pay for the city's pretreatment program expenses, so to fund the pretreatment program, and you can see the components of that pretreatment program, and based off of our analysis of the projected expenses for fiscal 24, no adjustments are needed to that fee in order to meet those expenses for fiscal 24. The other fee component is for sampling fees. So this is what the city would charge for sampling all these parameters. The design of this fee is to recover the cost that the city has to do sampling on all these industries. So it includes laboratory labor as well as equipment, and a proposed 30% increase to those charges to enable the city to recover fully the costs that they are incurring for sampling. And so that completes the ordinances. We had another request to this week to look at what a different split would look like in terms of splitting future costs between industries and the non-industrial users. So you can see this is on domestic, looking at fiscal 26, and since we did go to 26, we looked at that 5% per year industry average. So under the 50-50 split, a 1 MCF user would have a sewer bill of $70 per month, If it was 45-55, where industrial was responsible for 45% of new expenses, that goes up to $75, and then moving to a 40-60 split where industrial responsible for 40% of new costs, really maintaining what the current split is in terms of revenues. It's $80 for that monthly fee for residents in fiscal 26. And then looking at what that does to the industrial benchmarking. So again, the new bars there are the blue and the orange, the blue and the green. The orange looks at the 50-50. The blue is 45% industrial, and the green has the 40% industrial. That's the end of the prepared remarks that we had.
I am curious. I mean, you can pick any number you want, obviously, because we've had them float around here over the years. How do you come up with 50-50?
So we did an analysis of what the cost for capital and operations of the different components of infrastructure and what the components of the project, essentially, and which ones are designed mostly based off of volume and size, and which ones are dominated by load and treatment. And through that analysis, we came out really on 50-50.
I remember, I think we were having those discussions because we were talking about the 50-50 or what that different split would be. And I feel like we were, or had those conversations months ago, or when we were initially meeting, of kind of what that could look like and what that analysis was, so I appreciate it.
So the next steps will be, we have the ordinance ready to go for next council for your approval for the first reading of 3. That's next steps. That's where we are. If you guys have any questions or concerns or more comments, we got Hazen here, and I'm here to take any of that. Got Vicky back here if we have to put some pressure on her.
I do feel like the 50-50 is more of a fair balance, because it seems like it was off balance in, previous years, and it still does give a little bit extra to the industrial rate. They're using more, and it keeps it down a little bit for them too. And that shows the importance of that industry to our city, I think, by not putting it up to a 60-40 split the other way, because I think we would have to reverse what we've been doing to make it exactly kind of what they've been using. So I like the 50-50. I think the discussions that we've had in the past, our meetings that we've had with you, were pretty well explained. And
so is Seaboard going to go from $2.5 million to 7.3?
Under this? Yep. There's only 23 industries. I want you guys to remember that.
Right.
Mayor and Council, we had a meeting this afternoon with the major industries where we presented a similar presentation, and there are some pretty extreme concerns. Staff's commitment is, if an industry would like to reach out, we will sit down with them individually, with Hazen and wastewater staff, just to properly calculate what we see the impact would be of these rates. So,
but yeah, we're going to start passing rate increases next week. That's what we should never do until we have these discussions. But I don't know.
We've been having this discussion.
Your industry didn't know they were going to 7.3 million. Mr. Padmore and I had lunch with the manager of Seaboard. Until very recently did they know how high it was going to go. So we haven't done a very good job of communicating that, if that's the case. They're deeply concerned, and anybody that thinks a $4 million addition to anybody's bill around here isn't a big number needs to get a reality check. The reason we subsidized that in the past, because you can come up, number one, with any formula you want, contrary to But we did we made an effort to subsidize industrial users because we understand the importance of jobs to this community. So if you lose 2,100 jobs because of high sewer rates and water rates that we seem to have no end for, then there are going to be a lot of people wondering how they're selling their houses when they do want to get around to selling it. I don't care what you guys do, but I don't think it was as well known, the effects of this, until very recently, Alex, but yet we're going to vote next week. So,
Mayor, can you say what you said the STF numbers were again?
What?
What you said were the STF seaboard numbers?
He said it was going to go to 7.3 million.
From what, though?
2.6, I think.
I don't think that's correct. I don't think the 2.6 is correct.
I think it's more like 4 point.
I was thinking it's like 4 or 5.
It's a $4 million increase, basically, is what he told us at lunch.
That we determined that wasn't correct. He was using his total utility bill, which included water, and so water would have to be subtracted out. We got, I think his annual wastewater is like 4.5, and it goes to like 7.3. I think is what the.
It's significant.
It is significant.
I don't
Right.
think anyone is throwing shit
Right.
at that or dismissing that. I mean, I think it's a significant increase. I would be very curious to look at the books as far as what some of those industries are paying in other communities, because I would venture a guess that they've gotten a pretty sweet deal in our community for quite a while.
Again, Alex, we were told that St. Joe was higher. I was told that by you, that St. Joe was actually higher, but that's not the case. St. Joe is substantially lower than what we are here. Right?
Just, okay.
Well, are they or not?
It's not clear because they're not being clear with us. And I know what they've said in a meeting, but it's not published what they're paying. It's hidden in their websites at St. Joe. And if that were true, why didn't they build a second plant in St. Joe?
Well, St. Joe is cheaper.
Yep.
Substantially.
Yep.
So why wouldn't you build it?
That's what I'm asking.
Well, because I can tell you why, because the logistics, because the hogs are here. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out. The trucking and of the hogs is a huge number when you're going that far.
And
all the hogs are in northwest Iowa and southwest Minnesota right now.
And I think Tom made it pretty clear he doesn't care what the breakdown is. He's just thinking that we better get out of this dire situation.
Well, but don't tell me it's cheaper here than it is in St. Joe when that's not the case. That's all I'm trying to say is we make these decisions based upon what we hear.
No, that's not at all what I said. I just said that I wonder what it would be in other communities that other places are, because I do think we have subsidized or they've gotten deals. And I guess the other thing I find interesting is when we have these conversations, and I'd say 9 times out of 10 we talk about the family or the little old lady that is on a fixed income and can't increase their rate. For some reason, we're forgetting about all of them, and we're more worried about these handful of industries. And I understand they're vital to our community. I would never say they're not, but I think you have to balance that.
We don't have a shortage of jobs, we have a shortage of people. So if we jack up the rates for the people, where are the people going to go?
Right.
I'm not even arguing that. I just want full disclosure around here when we do this with these industries, because I don't think they knew this until just a little bit of time ago. That's what my point is. I don't care what you do with the rates. Everybody gets to vote on that.
I have a couple of questions, Tom. Procedurally, so we'll do 3 readings over the course of 3 meetings, April 3rd, 10th, and 17th.
Yep.
Are you going to include in our packet and for the public to see clearly set out the numbers you walked us through with what that means to a residential user, what those increases would be from one year to the next, so we can see actually the dollar amounts that you had? And maybe, I don't know if anybody else needs this, but just maybe in the quantities that you mentioned, like what a user uses, if there's somehow you could maybe demonstrate what that is, because I would like to know just what out-of-pocket I could anticipate, and all of us could anticipate what those increases would be for residential and commercial as well as industrial. I mean, I've got a concern across the board. I'm not going to single any one group out. I just want to see what those numbers are. You had them in here, but you can imagine.
Haven't you your bill?
Yeah, well, you can imagine what it's like when you're trying to figure that out as a citizen. I mean, this is probably equally as complicated as our tax bills that come out in the fall time, because everything that gets involved. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we kind of went through this with our Gill hauling contract. There was some misunderstandings there, and that was an easier group to understand. But you see what I'm asking? If you could, I don't know if you could use this format for all of us. So I thought this was very good today, but I would like to just see what those numbers would be spelled out pretty clearly.
And can we
Is it
post
okay
that?
if it's an average user?
Have them do Matthew. He's got kids at home, and do Dan's.
Mayor and Council, what we've done in the past, in past rate increases, is we've picked 3 random accounts. We didn't want to say who it was, but, you know, I think we've used Dan's before, and we've used a family of 5 before, and we've used a senior citizen before. We can calculate what those out and use that as kind of the average. And then we've also done large industries where we just picked a small, medium, and large industry. Those are easier to figure out who they might be, but we could probably provide those as well.
I'm just being accused of some things here.
I appreciate the work, gentlemen. I know it's
Thank you.
a big undertaking.
And we'll have that, Mayor, we'll have that. I mean, maybe 3 weeks isn't enough for you either, but we'll have those 3 readings. And with the, I mean, I don't know if anyone's here to speak today, but this was on the agenda to ask questions. That's what we're all about, is asking
We had a meeting with the
getting the
F-22.
facts. If we can get the facts, you know, that's the main thing.
Thank you.
Mayor and Council, I want to add one more thing. We're committed to working with the industries. The mayor mentioned that we met with Seaboard Triumph last week. Marty Doherty, our Economic Development Director, and Tom and I are going to be meeting with them again in the near future to look at ways that for capital costs that they infuse into their facility to reduce the treatment costs that they would then have to pay us. We can look at all our economic development tools, whether they be rebate or abatement or other things, to help offset those costs. So it'd be a win for them that we're helping them and also help lower their costs long term. And I think we're open to looking at all industries to help them reduce their costs.
My takeaway today is, and I'm glad you said it again, Tom, that this is it's not an option, and we have no option here. We either reconstruct, as you have come up with for the solution, or we build new. And building new is not the answer either.
What was the building new number? 1.3 billion?
900 million.
900 million, okay. Right.
I think we were saying the average, the 1 MCF resident pays about $60 a month now, and that would be about 120. So double the residential rates, more than double the industries.
That's not an
Put the
option.
city as an outlier compared to peer utilities.
Well, and I appreciate that your company, see, how can I say this? That your company can deal with regulators very well. I mean, you've done that, nationwide? And so that's going to be critical as well. So there are a lot of moving parts here. So I appreciate the method that you've used and what we're coming up with. I mean, I wish we didn't have any kind of increase, Mayor, but that's what we're looking at. So, thank you.
Anyone to be heard? Any citizen? Seeing none, Mr. O'Kane.
Nothing this week.
Julie.
I think this wastewater treatment plant redesign and I don't even know what it's called. What are we calling it? Reconstruction is something that's going to be on our radar for the next couple of weeks. But again, I want to emphasize, as Tom Pingle has let us all know, that it's not an option. Our plant is nearly dysfunctional, and we have to do it. We're governed by EPA, DNR, so we're on their radar, and they're pressing to get it done. So we have to start the process, and it takes 3, 4, 5 years to get through phase 1. So we should start this yesterday. I mean, really. So again, we don't really want to raise the rates, but there's no other way to do it. So we have to share the costs, all of us. That's all I have.
I just wanted to report that the Women Aware event last Friday evening was outstanding. All of the nominees were well deserving of being recognized for what they've done in the community. So it was just a very successful program, and Women Aware, I just can't believe the number of people that they help each year in so many different ways. So it was very encouraging and very promising. That's all I have, Mayor.
I like to have one thing. I drive down Hamilton Boulevard, and all of the tops off the CenturyLink junction boxes are laying on the side of the road, knocked off, those green tubes. None of them are in place. It looks like garbage. And I don't know if they even have any people here in town anymore. I'm sure it's a skeleton crew, but we should expect more out of those phone companies than what they're delivering. It just doesn't, it looks tacky to see that. Have you seen them? They all tip over.
Mm-hmm.
If we can figure out who to contact.
They need to fix that stuff. It just looks horrible. I move we adjourn.
Second.
Waters?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
O'Kane?
Aye.
Shaner?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.